Right, okay, good afternoon. My name is Brian Gerrish, and I'm going to talk to you largely about common purpose, which you've now seen on earlier slides and to do with Gordon Brown. But I'm also going to try and open your eyes to something wider than common purpose. It's basically how this country is being destroyed. And we're not at the stage anymore where we've got a problem with political parties. We're not at a stage where if we get rid of Mr. Brown, as has been quite rightly suggested, we can replace him with Mr. Cameron. Because if we do that, we're going to end up continuing what's happening in this country. If we replace him with Mr. Clegg, we're going to continue what's happening in this country. So what we've got to do is replace our MPs with decent, honest, moral people. And I'm going to be very, very measured and very careful here, because the people who actually voted these idiots into power is a very small percentage of the electorate. So what we are going to do is get the majority of the electorate to vote for honest, decent people. Some of them might call themselves Blue Sky Party, some of them might call themselves Green, some of them might have no name. They might just be, I nearly said a person. They might be a real human being. So I'm going to leave you to decide who you vote for, but what I'm going to say to you, if you continue to play the game and vote for Conservatives, Lib Dems and Labour, this country is going to continue the slide to slavery. That's a fact. Right. The state of the nation is on screen, because here's the column, the newspaper. We've started to print what other people won't print. We're now on our third injunction. And those injunctions are coming in because we have been printing the truth, not about politicians or grubby businessmen, but because we've been starting to print the truth about children. Now, I know that there are some young children in this audience, and I'm going to say gently to mums and dads, I'm going to be talking about some very serious stuff. So it's your decision. But I'll also say to you that when I gave a talk in Birmingham Central Mosque, which was now about 2 years ago, and I also said the same thing, the Muslims in the mosque said to me, the children stay, because we want our children to understand exactly what is happening. So I leave it to you, but I am going to talk about some rather disturbing subjects. Now, we heard a lot about the Constitution, and I think really we need a just society. Isn't that what it's about? We need a just society. How many of you would agree with that? If I said that we need to adjust society, we need a just society, how many of you would agree with that statement? I'm being deliberately deceitful. Because what am I talking about? Am I talking about a just society, or am I talking about adjusting society? Both. Because what I'm doing with you is neuro-linguistic programming. I'm saying one thing which your conscious mind says, I want a just society, but your subconscious mind is talking about adjusting society. And that neuro-linguistic programming is now an epidemic through the newspapers, the media, a very nasty organisation called Common Purpose, but through a lot of other vehicles, courses. And that neuro-linguistic programming, reframing of people, is beginning to change how they think and how they act. So that when you see or you hear of a senior police constable saying he can't let officers ride a bike because it's dangerous, that police constable believes what he's telling you. So every time your brain starts to say that's ridiculous, that's crazy, that's madness, I want you to start thinking, just maybe that person is not normal. And I'm going to take you on a little journey through this country, because under the surface of this country is a very nasty cancer. It's been put in alongside the corrupt bankers and the bent politicians. But this cancer is now undermining the way our society functions. Now, I hope that all of you have got a copy of the UK column, because in it, on 4 pages, 6, 7, 8 and 9, I've attempted to do a guide to what's happening, and I've done it in diagrams because they're better than words. So I hope you've got a copy of the paper. Whether you choose to look at it while I'm talking, maybe. But if you haven't got one, after the talks have finished, can I encourage you to get one? And we do need your donations. If you will buy, if you will subscribe, if you'll donate, we are getting the message out. On a good month, 100,000 copies. On an average month, 45,000 copies. They're going into Parliament. I can tell you this paper is read by the Labour Cabinet. That is not a joke. I can assure you it is, and they don't like it. So this is not a very good slide because I know it's a bit faint, but I stumbled across this in Plymouth. It's a huge hoarding. I don't know how long it is, 40 feet by 15 foot high. It's the Prince's Trust. Have you all heard of that? It's a wonderful charity that does wonderful things for young people. And I believe that Prince Charles is involved in it, so it must be good, mustn't it? But I got interested in this poster. On the left-hand side, in case you can't see, is a young man. And then the words are, God, Father Christmas. Some young people don't even believe in themselves. Now, as I drove past that, I thought, that's a very interesting poster. And then I got a bit further down the road, and suddenly my brain said, neuro-linguistic programming. Because there are other meanings in that sentence. One is that God is equated to Father Christmas. Some of you might believe that. I think you should think about it very carefully. But the message being put out to people reading that poster, or going into their minds subliminally, is that God is like Father Christmas. Well, never mind God and Father Christmas, which the young person doesn't believe in. They don't even believe in themselves. So there's about 3 messages going around. When you get a daily paper, let's take the Daily Mail, because what a disgusting paper it is. Normally, across the top, you now have cheap banner adverts. Nothing to do with the seriousness of the situation in the country. Cheap adverts for DVDs. You will then have a very serious article, which could be on the money supply or another issue. And usually alongside it, you will have a slightly clad young lady. Now, the way this works is that when your mind looks at the front page, it initially takes in the serious stuff, but then another part